to thank everybody for coming to the digital media studio. This is the big unveiling of ROHO's portrait. He painted all the way back in May for Cinco de Mayo. And so now how appropriately we have Hispanic Heritage Month, and we have the Frida Kahlo exhibit here at the library, so we said what better time than now to unveil it for you tonight. Just want to give you like a little bit of background on ROHO. He's been coming here probably since earlier this year to the DMS, and it was always a pleasure having him, and we got into conversations with him, and he started showing his stuff, started showing us his stuff, and we were just totally blown away by his artwork. And me and Leticia were like, we have to do something with this guy for the Joliet Public Library because his artwork is just unbelievable. Yeah, and so as you can see, it's just super breathtaking. And plus, not only his artwork super breathtaking, he's just a really like down-to-earth, talented, interesting human being. He's just not, he's very approachable. He's in here all the time. He's got people coming up to him, asking him questions. So I really want you guys to, have this chance tonight to talk to him and ask him any questions that he has. If you guys are aspiring artists, how to get started. He's a really good outlet to have here at the Joliet Public Library. He's worked, if you look at the Rialto building outside, he's worked on that mural. He's worked at Joliet Speedway, correct, ROHO? Yeah. He's worked for NASCAR. He did Mojo's, the mural on that side of the building. So his credit is just a laundry list of amazing accomplishments. So I'm going to kind of pull it over to ROHO here, and he's going to kind of explain his experiences and his kind of process painting this. I know it was kind of hectic because we did a live painting last time we were in this space. So if you just want to go over that, ROHO, that process and what you're going through.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction.
No problem.
So hello everyone. Hello. Once again, my name is ROHO. My real name is Eric, but for a long time I started going by ROHO. I wanted something more artistic, and wanted something a bit more Spanish. So for those who don't know, ROHO means the color red in Spanish. And I thought that fit very well because it was my favorite color. So last time I was here back in May, I started the live painting, which is very interesting because for the most part you're painting and you're answering questions for people that ask questions or whatnot. So I try my best to be as interactive as I can, painting and talking and whatnot. And so I'm very thankful for DMS having me here first and foremost, because it's a very creative space. Hi, come on in.
Come on in. Come on in.
Come on in. It's an amazing creative space, and I was telling Josh in my old studio in Chicago, it was an incubator very much like this, where people were always constantly 3D printing stuff. There were authors, there were artists, directors started talking about stories. So it's a very creative space. And so from the first time I came here, I liked that energy. And I think I just came to visit, or I heard about it or whatever, and came to visit. And of course the staff are very lovely people. So you have a question, they'll answer, and they'll indulge you with any creative acts from that. So that's why I'm always here. Very, very fortunate to do this piece of art. Take a look around. My style has kind of changed throughout the years. This is more my style nowadays. I love to do portraiture. If you've seen the very large one that's by the door, that's a series of portraits that I'm developing for a show in New York next year. And so it's just little bit that's taken me a long time to get to where I'm at now. I'm also an art instructor in Chicago for After School Matters. So I've been teaching for over 15 years now. And really enjoy doing that because I get reinvigorated with my students. They're all high schoolers, so they'll tell you the truth. They'll tell you if they like it or they don't, and that's kind of like, I like that honesty. And if I keep getting a lot of likes, then I must be doing something right. If the teens dig it, then it's good. But yeah, I really enjoy doing murals. I instruct how to do murals in Chicago. And I feel like it's very important because not everyone has a chance or an opportunity to go to a gallery necessarily. And so if you're driving by and if you happen to be by a mural in your neighborhood, it's beautiful art that should be enticed with, you know, checking it out, and it as a reflection of the community that it's into. So at the moment I only have a couple here in Joliet, surprisingly, but most of my murals are in Chicago because I lived out there for close to 10 years. I live here now, back home in my hometown here, so I love doing murals. So I'm trying to do a little bit more with the art community here. Erin here, she's part of the art movement here in Joliet. So if anyone's not familiar with the art movement, she's a great person to talk to, another amazing artist as well. So I'm glad she had a chance to come and check it out. So again, we're trying to do some art, anything art related here in the city of Joliet. So yeah, so that's a little bit about kind of my background and some of the paintings. Let me know if you have any questions or anything like that on the process or anything, but otherwise, let me know if you want to.
Let's,
Yeah, tell
okay.
us about the process.
Oh, the process?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right. I know, right? Yeah. I'll be like, and so.
Because like this was one of the first times I believe you've done a live painting with, you know, people coming in and out of the space and asking you questions, and so I'm sure that whole experience is totally different than like you just in a basement with music on and drawing.
Yeah. It's a different type of process. So definitely. So I believe I had it rough sketched and kind of loosely painted already when I brought it here. Understanding that there was going to be people and conversations would be starting by people just watching me paint. Every artist has their own particular way of painting, their own style, their own process. I know for me, music is a great help for me. I'm also a DJ, but I love music. It just puts me in the right mood, the right setting. If I'm doing a painting on something specific, like an actor or director or whatnot, then I'll just listen to like YouTube behind the scenes stuff that's talking about the subject that I'm painting. But for painting live purposes, I know I'm never gonna get the painting done live. It's just, and that's part of the charm. It's so people can see the process up to a certain point. I think that was relatively 2-hour setting, maybe something very, very quick. But I had enough to showcase what I call the underpainting. So people get to see the gist of what it could look like to a certain point. And then by the time I take it back home to my studio, then I really concentrate, put some music on, and try to get those details in. That's a whole different process. But yeah, for the most part, live, and anytime I paint live, it's very much interactive. Same as if I was doing a mural out in the street. People come up and say, in the beginning, it's always in the beginning, what is that? What is that supposed to be? It's not, in the beginning of any painting, it never looks like what it's supposed to look like. That's just part of the natural process of creating anything. But it's the charm also, because those same people that live in the neighborhood come back later and say, oh, wow, that's what I get it now. And it starts to look like what it's supposed to look like. But I'm a fan of showing the process. That's why I do a lot of time lapses of my artwork. The original painting never looks like what it's going to look like in the end. And so I'm a fan of showcasing that. I feel like people need to show more of the process. Because people, it's nice to see the end result, right? This is the ooh-ah moment of finishing, showcasing something. But the beauty is in the process. And that's why I like doing it. That's my old studio in Chicago back in the day. I was a younger self. It was a long time ago.
A young gun back then.
Yeah, young gun. I was thirsty. I was like, get me at him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a little bit about my process. Again, I try to be as much on social media as I can. Social media is a great tool for those of you that are on it and aware of it. It's such a great platform to showcase any of your artwork. Mostly on Facebook and Instagram. I have some TikTok stuff, but I'm not on it as much. And so yeah, this is a little bit about who I am and what I'm about.
Yeah. And make sure, guys, help yourself to the snacks over here. ROHO will be selling T-shirts over here. All of these paintings, I believe, are for sale. I mean, obviously, except for that one that we're going to unveil. But so if you're interested in contacting ROHO for commissions or want to buy his t-shirts, or just ask him any questions, feel free to approach him after the unveiling. Yeah?
Where did you get your training for
Yeah,
schooling?
absolutely. I went to Providence Catholic High School, and after that, I went to the American Academy of Art in Chicago. Had my BFA in illustration there, and then briefly I went to Governor State University for my master's in painting. So a lot of schooling. I think I received a scholarship for Governor State for my master's, but I think it was back-to-back schooling was just too much for me, and I needed a break. My professor at the time was very understanding. At that time, I started to get work, and clients started, I started getting lucky with work and clients. But he saw that, and he saw the potential. It's like, school is always going to be here. You can always come back. While you have work, go out and do it. So I've had a very understanding instructor. So that's why. And then from then on, I moved to Chicago, and I started doing murals out there.
Okay. Any other questions for ROHO? We're gonna drop the curtain here.
More information? What questions? Yes.
Specifically of that paint, 'cause I know that
This one?
has your
Okay.
your lettering. So can you? Because it's unfair. I know a little bit more about you.
Mhm,
So
mhm. Oh, for sure.
Don't know.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna keep asking.
Great, keep the questions
I
coming.
know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the questions. This is the way I currently work. I currently work with oil painting, and sometimes the underpainting would be spray paint. That Joker one right there, that's oil painting right there, so more illustrative work. So my background is very much in graffiti. I love the vibrancy and the different colors of graffiti. I used to break dance back in the day too, so I love the hip hop culture. So that was very influential for me. And I tried to, little by little, introduce the vibrancy of graffiti into my portraiture. And these are what I call my alpha strokes. In some of my other paintings, I introduced these alpha strokes into making graffiti word, or letters that make a word in different paintings. And so it's a kind of an abstract tool that I use from time to time in most of my work. So the paintings, the portraits specifically, most of these shirts are just portraiture, that large one, same thing. I just try to introduce the alpha stroke to reflect energy that's coming from within us. We all have this creative energy somewhere in us. It's gonna come out eventually, and so that's why I kind of fit this. This was a friend of mine. She's also an entrepreneur, but I thought she had a great face for a portrait. I asked her one day, she said, cool, took some photos one day, but I felt like she had a confident look in this specific portrait. And so that's why I decided to paint her, and that's what these alpha strokes are about. So if you take a look, they all look kind of the same.
She looks serious in that picture.
Serious?
Yeah, serious.
Serious. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I took a bunch, and I think just her gaze and very serious look. She's looking out at, even though she's slightly looking this way, she's like confidently looking out to the viewer.
Yeah.
So that's why I went with that one. Yes.
I really like the one on the end there with the child. Could you tell me more about that one?
Yes. Yeah. So this one's much more of the graffiti aspect. Yes. So this was a design that I want to do on a mural. I need to find the right wall for it, the right size wall. It being graffiti, there's a word in there. It says imagine, in my abstract graffiti way. So I'll let you guys take your time looking for the letters, but and I shorten it because in graffiti you always cut letters in and out. You always kind of make words either smaller or larger depending on how you want to do it. So here's the I, M, the A, G, N. So I took out a few letters, but to synchronize kind of the abstract alpha strokes that I have in there. And so it's basically imagination coming from her headdress, and that's what this is about. A young lady that just kind of sketched out and drew, and I thought it would fitting for the headdress. This was a smaller series that I did years back, and it's one of those series that I still want to continue. It all depends on timing and of course mural or wall space for sure. But yeah, this one, the original sold right away as soon as I posted it. This gentleman said it reminded it of his daughter, And so that's why he came over, he approached, and I told him the price, and he basically came the next day for it. So this is a print. So that's the one thing about art and whatnot. I'm trying to be more inventive with prints, making reprints, and of course t-shirts. Because now, of course, not everyone can afford the large pieces of art, but you know, sometimes they're always asking for posters or prints. So that's what this one is.
I got a question, ROHO.
Yeah.
Explain like your influences you've had throughout your life of like what inspired you to paint. I know you mentioned hip hop, but in terms of like any other famous artist or anything.
Yeah, influences. Favorite one was always Salvador Dali, very surrealistic painter, Spanish painter, and all of his stuff very dreamlike, and that. I think, here's I didn't like painting at all until like my senior year of high school. I was very scared.
So you weren't into art at all?
I like to draw, and I played it safe and only used color pencils. I didn't want to mess up my drawings. I'm sorry. And so I could not, I was scared of messing it up with acrylic paint. And it's something that I talk about all the time. My students say, really? No, seriously, I was just so afraid to mess up my drawings.
Yeah.
But I got very good at color pencil rendering and coloring. So it wasn't until senior year that I started doing acrylic paintings, and most were replicas of Salvador Dali's surrealistic paintings and stuff. So that was how I started with acrylic. So yeah, that and just graffiti writers. This German graffiti writer named Daim. He's known for doing 3-dimensional graffiti, and it's just beautiful work. Large-scale murals is what he does. But yeah, I'm influenced by film. I love movies. I love music. So I think like everyone here, we're always influenced by different things. Very much so. Family, friends. I mean, we're influenced by just walking out our door every day. You know, if you pay attention to certain things.
Yeah.
So stuff like that can spark an idea that'll go to a sketch that eventually might go to a painting. But it's a whole different avenue of processes. So.
Yeah. Speaking of movies, ROHO's working on a movie. I don't know when you plan to release it. He's a busy guy, but it's just amazing. He's got so much going on, from painting to teaching to DJing to breakdancing to being a actor, writer, producer in a film.
The movies are an author too.
I'm currently writing a book on the ultra creative, which is the process of creativity that everyone has, but trying to bring that out is a different story. So I've been writing that on and up. So that's a later thing. That's a so much later thing. The movie that I'm producing is my passion project for the past 5 years. It took me a year or two to write it. I shot part of it. That's like the bad movie that no one's gonna see. But I learned so much from making that bad version that now I, hired the right people. I hired my very good friends who are filmmakers, and they trusted in my vision. And through shooting probably twice a year, we're able to collectively, put the movie together. So next month we'll be shooting the last 4 scenes of the movie. The trailer is out on YouTube now. It's called Dibujo, which means like drawing or sketch in Spanish, however you want to look at it. And I play a character named Vincent, who's world famous but doesn't want to pursue art anymore. He's just tired of it. And so that's like my spin on what the movie's about. So that's what that film is. And again, it's my passion project. So it's one of those I'm taking my time with, because it's expensive.
Yeah.
Making a movie is very expensive.
And time consuming.
And time consuming, yeah. So, the way we shot it, it makes sense. So we've been shooting it the last 3 years.
Cool.
Yeah, real cool. I'm an artist in my own way. I get letters from Hobby Lobby, and for family members, I do their name.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm waiting to give my godmother her name and her 2 grandchild's name.
Excellent. How long have you been doing that?
Well, how long, sir? About a year now, I'd say, maybe? A year and a half. Cause I started with
She just,
Marissa's name, not this
ran into the
past one.
problem where she started doing them and then everyone's like, so when's it my turn to get some?
Ah, that's a good problem to have.
Everybody wants one, yeah.
And I was taught by my mom, who's up there, once you do something for one person, you do it for all.
Yeah.
So almost all where I go to date for
Everyone,
that
yeah.
has their name.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's a
She
good
has
problem to
hers.
have.
Yeah.
Good problem.
No, that's good. Yeah.
Well, I'll ruin the surprise and hopefully they will forget. But for Christmas or be after Christmas, I'm planning on doing all my housemates' names, which is 4 housemates, me make 5, and the staff, all except for one who doesn't take gifts.
Oh, okay.
No
Nice.
gifts,
So you got
no
lucky.
cards,
You got
no
one
nothing.
less name to worry about.
Yeah, you only
Okay.
got 2 letters, DJ.
Oh, okay. Nice. Good luck on that project. That's gonna be.
All right.
Yeah.
Type it to me. Nice.
Yeah, go
What
ahead.
kind of medium did you use on the Freedom one back there?
The Frida one is a gouache watercolor painting
Oh.
with a clear vinyl on top of it, where I use paint marker. Yeah, so that was my. Yeah, those are my gouache years, so just watercolor painting for like 2-3 years that I only focused on. Again, I was scared to do oils. I was scared to do a lot of things, so it's literally,
Yes.
I did a couple years of just gouache and watercolors, and then I was always in and out of acrylics, just because, you know, that's kind of like a good medium to get your hands dirty with. And until I became a bit more confident in watercolors, then I gradually went into oil painting. And my oil paints, I thin out my oil paints for anybody that's familiar with oil painting. It's a very thick medium, and it has very artsy, like I really like the way oil painters paint. But I thin mine out just because I just like the way it looks. I like the transparency of certain things. You're still able to see the underpainting because I thin out my oils. So that's just a process that I developed that I enjoy doing. Yes.
Other question, what was the inspiration to put that bird right up on the?
Oh, right here?
Mm-hmm.
Just for a composition. Yeah, I think I wanted to throw a flower and a bird in a few of these. So you'll see that's a pattern that I've just kind of enjoyed doing. Birds are usually up in the sky, flowers are very much in the ground. Yeah, so kind of bringing those 2 worlds together. Yes.
Why'd you leave the eyes white in that picture?
Okay. Good observation. This series was, again, this one was years ago. You know the saying that I'm already messing it up. The eyes, yes.
Eyes are the windows to the soul.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
My brain stopped for a second. So when we die, all we're left behind is our body, right? It's more of a shell. And so I felt as though her spirit left, and this is all that's left behind. And so for that particular series, I did a series of people that have passed away, and I didn't paint in their eyes to reflect that. And so that was, yeah.
That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so as you can see, I've kind of gone through different phases throughout many years of painting.
So it seems like you're always like testing out new stuff.
Yeah, very much so. Trying to, again, I like the vibrancy of colors, so most of my artwork is very bright and vibrant, variety of colors. I just want to show that, and that's like my graffiti background, I guess.
Can you explain the difference between commission works or paintings that we have here and your murals? Obviously, the finishing, there's got to be different techniques.
Yes, so great question. So if I'm at home devising a sketch, making a painting that I just want to take my time with, those are lovely. Just take your time, you work on it whenever you can. When you have a commission, it's usually come with a timeline or a deadline, right? So a commission, this was a nice deadline. This was months ago. So it was like, oh, this is awesome. I got plenty of time to work on it when I can. For murals, those usually have deadlines as well. The supply list for a mural is much more demanding than if it was just a canvas. Murals, I need to understand how big the wall is going to be, how much paint I need to have. I don't want to run short, because usually when you're working with a client, it's a bad thing to go back and say, hey, I need more money for this and this and this. You need to kind of have your stuff organized. So I not only have to have sketches to show the client, I have to have full color renderings. And then I also put it in Photoshop to make it look like it's already painted on the wall. So they have to almost see it complete before they give you the okay, go ahead, here's the check to start it off. Usually with murals, I ask for 50% up front so that I don't do all this work and they say, oh, you know what, we're not gonna need you.
Right.
I've fallen in that trap before. You know, as a freelancer, you learn a lot of things fast because hey, time is money, as they say. So.
And there's only so much exposure you need.
Yeah, you're right. I do it for exposure. I don't.
Yeah.
I need
Exposure doesn't
I
pay
need
the
bills.
gas bill.
Yeah, exactly. So I've learned a great deal with murals specifically. I learned all that after art school. I didn't learn. Art school was great for the techniques,
Yeah.
how to become a great painter, a good painter, understanding all that goes into being a good draftsman and all that. I loved art school, but they fell short on the business side of things. So I had to pretty much learn all that on my own.
The real world.
Yes, very much so.
Can you explain a little bit of the process of the finishing murals?
Finishing of a mural?
Because it's obviously because it's going to be weathered.
Mhm.
So how long is a typical
Yeah.
lifespan of a mural?
Great question. So obviously, if the murals that are outside, the paint is a bit more expensive because the paint's meant to withstand the weather. You know, UV protected paint they sell is much more expensive than just regular acrylic. I learned that the hard way as well. Older murals that I've done in the past, I'd have to go and touch them up because the paints that I used just weren't that good. It was just off the shelf kind of acrylic paint, which is fine, but not for outdoor murals. So I've learned what to use and what not to use. Indoor murals are great, they last forever. I mean, you really don't have to worry about it. I did one for a gym in Chicago, and all they asked was that I put a protective coating, because sometimes they'll stretch and do, you know, whatever stretches or the exercises or whatever, and they just want to make sure it doesn't get damaged. So if it's indoor use, you can put a protective seal. Again, it adds up. You just can't, you know, again, I've learned this for years of painting murals that, you know, you get what you pay for. And so that's why it's a bit more expensive for murals, but you want these things to last. Usually after, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years, some colors start to fade, and that's just with anything. The sun will eat at anything over the course of time. But
Excuse
the
me,
vibrancy
Uncle,
will
I
stay.
like that painting right there that you're doing right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a commission, an abstract painting.
Not that one, the one before it.
Oh, which one? I don't remember.
Yeah, that one.
I think it's the same one.
Same thing.
Oh, same one? Okay, yeah. Yeah, that was a cloud and ocean
Yeah.
merging, and that's what the abstract one was. So, great question.
So how do you decide which of your ideas to actually pursue and make into a full project?
If I continually think about it and it just doesn't want to go away, then that means I should do it. For me, that's just, that's my process. If it's still in my head and I'm still thinking of different scenarios of how to make a mural or showcase something here in Joliet or in any city, if it's still in my head after a week or two, that means I have to do it. I'm just gonna go crazy if I
Have you
don't.
done paint, like murals out of the state?
Yes, I've done a few in St. Louis, and I'm trying to do some in Mexico next year.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, I want to do some with my family out
Yeah,
there.
nationals.
Yeah, but that's a mural at the Dusabo Museum of African Art in Chicago. So I was just telling Josh that that was a last-minute commission, but it was great. The portrait is a gentleman called Charles White. He was a muralist in Chicago. Very, very amazing work. After seeing his show at the Art Institute, I was inspired, and then that's why I painted his portrait.
Wow.
So that's what that one was.
Any other artists in your family?
In different styles, yes. So I mean, I would consider my sister. She plays the violin. So as a youth, that was very like influential for me. My other cousin, he was a graffiti writer. Now he does wood sculptures. So he's another guy I looked up to as well. And my aunt, she went to art school for a while. I know she was like the first artist that I knew growing up, like somebody who did art for a living. So that was another source of inspiration.
Sarah.
Any other questions?
All right.
No.
How much does it teach us? $25.
Yes. Make sure
And
to
I-
support local artists, support Rojo, buy his t-shirts. Check out his website.
Yeah, I'll be putting on
Type
my
in Rojo
Yeah, I'm just
Art.
starting the this is rohoarte.net.
There
It's
you
my
go.
website, but I'm adding my store to it so people can just buy stuff off of there. I'm really late with doing that, but I've been busy doing other
I was gonna say.
And check out his YouTube channel. Just type in Rojo Art. His YouTube channel will come up. You can't miss it. It's a picture of him. Connect the dots.
Trying to be consistent. And
Yeah.
I'll-
Yeah. So, anybody got any other questions for Rojo about the process? Anything about the DMS? If you guys want tours, we'd be happy to do it. Anything else before we unveil? Harry?
I want to know, what is your strategy for managing your time on all this? Especially with your personal stuff as opposed to your commissions, because
That's a good question.
Great question. So, let's see, how do I manage my time? I basically schedule everything in from a month in advance. I try to at least. So I have whiteboards at my studio at home. I pretty much write down. When I do a reflection at the end of the month, so it's like I try my best to reflect on the accomplishments as well as the stuff that didn't go well. You know, sometimes you plan something, it just doesn't go according to plan, and I try to learn from those mistakes or whatever. So I do that at the end of the month, and so when I reflect, I start next month's opportunities, is what I call them. So potential opportunities for either client meetings or just like, even if it's just starting another painting for a show that's next year. If I have downtime, then that's when I do those. I consider myself an ultra creative, so I do multidisciplinary artist. So I'm a DJ, painter, and art instructor. And so I find that if I get bored doing one, I just switch off and do the other ones. And that reinvigorates my energy to do the other activities. And that's just how I work. I don't know, people have their different process and stuff. I started a podcast on Instagram called The Ultra Creative, where I interview fellow creatives, producers, writers, directors, actors, painters, because I might not like their work, but I'm curious how they do their things, like how their process is. So I don't know, that's just the way I describe it. And I try my best to do it at least once a month, but I've been falling behind this past month. But yeah, I'm very interested in the subject of creativity. Yeah, time management, very important. You have to figure out what works best for you.
Greg?
Yeah, I was thinking about your alpha strokes.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with that, have you used that as your trademark? As a trademark?
It's becoming my trademark.
Okay, because I noticed that.
Yeah, thanks for noticing. I think
Yeah.
I've done a handful of murals that have that in them.
Right.
And it's a great thing to hear.
Mhm.
People say, I saw one of your pieces, it had there. A lot of people don't know what's called the alpha stroke, that's just
Right.
a title that I put it, but
Right.
they'll say that. They're like, yeah, I knew that was your work because I saw this.
Right.
And that's what you want. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Like if you look at Rojo's,
Yeah.
just for example, the back of his laptop, the R, like
Or the-
he's
Oh, yeah.
melded his alpha stroke into his logos, and so that's like really smart in terms of a branding process, and
Brandon.
yeah, branding huge across all your artwork to do that. So that's super smart on Rojo's part of just having that branding
Yeah.
across his artwork,
Right.
mixing it into his like commercial advertising, graphic design stuff.
Yeah. And that wasn't overnight. That was
Oh,
a
yeah,
long
I-
process.
yeah,
of
that's not just-
what works, what doesn't.
Yeah.
And
You just didn't do that by accident.
No, yeah. I was a huge fan of branding for a while and logo design. So I was a logo designer for maybe 3 years,
Really?
maybe 4 years. Yeah, so I did logos for startups. The studio that I worked out in Chicago was all startups. And so a lot of them needed logos.
Great.
Hey, I know how to do that. Even though I wasn't really professional at it in the beginning, I knew I could sketch a logo. But then I dove deep into books on logo design, and I follow the school. It's called The Future. They're logo designers, but entrepreneurs. So they're basically an online school for branding and logo design. So yeah, I did it for a couple years. I don't know. So now I can do it. Now I prefer not to, but I learned so much in those short years
Yeah.
that I just, put it into my brand. So
Smart.
Okay, why is that like has the shiny lines across?
Yeah. So this was my version of the Virgen de Guadalupe, so the Virgin Mary.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So this is my version of that, of her.
Okay.
So yeah. And then again, this was my early style of painting, watercolors. So yeah, again, I did a lot of watercoloring in the beginning because I was scared of oils. I eventually got over my fear, and now all I do is paint oil. That's great. Yeah.
All right, any other questions for ROHO or any other questions about the process? Questions about the DMS? You guys ready? All right, ROHO, you grab one side. We're going to do a countdown. I want you guys to help us out. We're going to start at 5.
5.
All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh my God, that's good.
All right. So now I'm sure we got a whole bunch of more questions about this. We're going to have ROHO go over the whole concept. We really, when Leticia and I sat down with ROHO and went over the whole piece, we were like, well, we want something that represents Cinco de Mayo, but we don't want to just have it focus on the battle itself. And we wanted to incorporate the flag in there, so we just kind of gave ROHO some cliff notes on it, and he came up with this. So ROHO, kind of take it away in terms of what your process was putting it together.
Right. Yeah, thank you. So it's an illustration of an instructor or a teacher in a classroom environment showcasing and talking about what Cinco de Mayo is. My background is Mexican, my family's from Mexico, but I was born here. And so the United States love to celebrate a lot of things, and Cinco de Mayo, even as a youth, I thought was our Independence Day, just because I didn't know any better, Maybe my parents didn't specify on what it was, but the beauty of it was we were celebrating it. And so me being an instructor, being a teacher, I felt, why not put it in a classroom environment? He's basically instructing like if it was like a chalkboard or a whiteboard, explaining, the specific day of Cinco de Mayo, where the French came to try to conquer Puebla. It's called the Battle of Puebla. And that was specifically why it was Cinco de Mayo in 1862. And of course, this young lady has a question for the teacher, whatnot. So I felt it'd be nice and appropriate for this teacher to look out into the viewer, to capture the viewer's eye, and to capture the attention. Well, at least that's what I tried to do here. And again, just to reflect on anybody who's a teacher or an instructor, even for anybody here who works here at the library. I mean, the library was always a source of knowledge, right? And so I felt it fitting for this type of illustration to go with Cinco de Mayo. So yeah, that's pretty much. And of course, you can kind of see I had to throw my alpha stroke in.
Yeah,
there.
the elements of the alpha stroke coming in.
Yeah, it's not.
It's really cool.
Dominant.
Very even subtle. It's kind of the trademark.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I figured it would be a good piece for a library, for again, knowledge. So that's what it was. And then this was influenced off of this famous Mexican artist Jesus Herrera, I think his last name. But he had a famous painting, so I thought I liked that one. So I did my version of his eagle. But yeah, that's what that is.
Awesome.
I like it.
Explanation.
You did it, Spanglish.
Yeah.
So good. All right. Any other questions for ROHO? Please enjoy the snacks. If you want to talk to ROHO, you guys want to tour the DMS area, if this is your first time down here, we'd love to take you on a tour.
So
And
is
just,
the painting going to stay at the library?
yes, this painting will stay at the library,
Where is it going to be?
yeah. We do not know yet. Somewhere in the DMS down
Oh,
here.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is it oil or acrylic?
It's mixed. It's mixed.
It's mixed? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I think the background is acrylic, a little bit of spray paint,
Okay.
and then oil.
Oh, okay.
Mixed media. But again, thank you very much for coming. I really
Yeah.
appreciate everyone, showing up, checking it out. Let me know if you have any questions about anything art related, or even entrepreneur related. I like that subject matter as well. But yeah, let me know if you have any
Yeah.
questions.
Take some pictures, grab some snacks. Thanks for coming out, guys.
Cool.